It's been a rough past month for Boston College football. What do the Eagles have to do to turn around their season and maintain bowl eligibility? We're going to talk about a few of those things on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope you all are doing well, that you had a nice Halloween if you took your kiddos out or if you had parties or whatever you were doing. Hope it was a great Halloween weekend for you all. On today's show, we're going to go over what those things are that Boston College is not doing right, that they can easily fix to hopefully give them a chance to beat the Hokies. And we're going to look around the rest of the country to talk about some of the other games in the ACC and games that are just interesting for Boston College fans. We'll have Mitch Wolfe on to do all of that. So, Boston College, on Saturday, they lose 21-6. Their offense, 0 for 4 in the red zone for touchdowns. Unacceptable right there. I mean, honestly, that's the game. You don't score 4 touchdowns. I mean, if they score 4 touchdowns there, it's, they're going to get more points. And they're going to beat Syracuse. I mean, that sounds simple, but that's what's going to happen. And we saw what happened. There was a missed snap. They got stalled at the 1 yard line. They just couldn't get in. So looking at BC football, that is a big issue. I think that Boston College has to improve in the red zone. And I think a lot of that has to do with the play calling in the red zone. One of the things that I noticed that I thought, why are they doing that, is it was really exemplified on that last goal line drive. It has nothing to do with the quarterback, honestly, to me, because it could be Grossell, it could be Moorhead, doesn't matter to me. I want to see Pat Garwo in those positions. I guess they're putting Levy in because he could catch the passes around there, but man, it would make much more sense just to have Garwo. He's a bowling ball. He gives you the better chance of scoring a touchdown there. So in the red zone, keep Garwo in. I know they're trying to save his legs, but, take him out when they're in the middle of the field. Use Sinkfield and Levy there. Keep Garwo for those red zones because he's the perfect running back, to get those physical 1 yard runs. And now I know Levy has done well too at different points, and it just didn't happen this week. But I'm in the firm camp that Garwo is that guy. So that would be one thing I would love to see them change, because I think if you had Garwo at the goal line, you might have a better chance of scoring some touchdowns, because at this point, that's all you can ask for. Secondly, the offensive line issues. If you got to break down, you can't just say the entire offensive line stinks, because I don't think that's fair, because there's been some players that have played exceptionally well on the offensive line that shouldn't be lumped in with that. That's Christian Mahogany, one of the guards. That is Zion Johnson, who's played great all season. And I know he had that missed snap, but Alec Lindstrom, for the most part, has played exceptionally well. Those guys are fine. The tackle issue is the bigger issue here. Ben Petrula can do it. I'm not going to say that any changes need to be there. He just needs to raise his game up a little bit. But the left tackle, whether it's an injured Tyler Vrabel, which he's obviously been playing banged up for the last couple of weeks, and it looked bad, whatever happened to him on Saturday. Not sure what his injury status is heading into Saturday. Hafley has not given any updates on that. But it cannot be Jack Conley. I'm not going to rip on the kid because he has had a tough couple of weeks. But, man, he needs a rest. He needs a break. They cannot put Conley out there, and I'm sure they're not. What I would do is what they did at the end of the game last time, which is you're going to have to kick Zion Johnson over. I know he wasn't perfect at tackle last year, but he improved a ton by the end of the season. I would rather see Johnson out there with Trapillo at guard, at guard, and then having Conley back out there. So I would fix it by doing that. Try Johnson. That left tackle is so critical. They need a solid anchor there. And I think Johnson's obviously the best offensive lineman they have. So move him back over. Maybe that'll give them some more time in the pocket and help either Grossell or Moorhead. And finally, speaking of quarterbacks, just pick a quarterback. At this point, I don't want to see this dueling quarterback thing. And I know Hafley had his rationale, and I'm not ripping him on it because, he's the coach. This is his team. That's his decision. But now that you've tried it out, You've given Moorhead, you let him, cut his teeth a little bit here. It's time to make your decision. And I think everyone knows what that decision should be. It's got to be Emmett Moorhead. I know he struggled. I know there were times that he got sacked, but you need him to grow because I think Grossel's kind of plateaued. I think everyone can agree. I'm not sure at this level if he's going to get any better. He's certainly not going to hit deeper passes, and he's still going to struggle with the rush. But at this point, I would much rather see Emmett Moorhead get his chance. Let him grow because he's going to be the quarterback of the future. Next year, it looks like Phil Dracovic will be back. We can't guarantee everything. He hasn't said anything, but it looks like he'll be back. And then you have Moorhead back him up, and then you give Moorhead the reins in 2023. So this is a perfect chance for him to, get that experience and grow because you can grow pretty quickly once you start to play at the college level and play with the ones. So hopefully, cross your fingers, Moorhead got a lot of time with the ones this week at practice. Again, they're not going to tell us that because it's private information, but I would love to see Moorhead as the starting quarterback. I think it's time. I think honestly, you need to be able to keep him on his feet. You need the offensive line to play better, which is another reason why I thought that was big. But Moorhead, I think if he can stay on his feet, will give BC the chance to move the ball. So Emmett Moorhead, he's got my vote right now to quarterback against Virginia Tech. But those three things I think are so critical heading into this game. The offensive line, they need to fix that that tackle position. I want to see them slide over Zion Johnson at this point. I want them to play Patrick Garwo in the red zone. And I think Emmett Moorhead should be the quarterback. What do you think? Hit me up at Locked On BC. What are the three things that you think Boston College needs to do if they're going to stand a chance of beating Virginia Tech, or at least scoring points? Because last week and the week before, it's been a real slog. Let's hear what you have to say. Now, in a moment, we're going to be joined by Mitch Wolfe, who's going to talk to us about this weekend's games. We're going to talk about everything that happened in the ACC, including pitting. We'll talk about UMass's tough weekend, and we'll talk everything in between. But before we do that, I want to thank all of you who are our first listeners. People who listen to this for the first time in the morning and then check us out every day after. Thank you all for listening to us on Locked On Boston College. Really, that does mean a lot. And if you like this podcast, check out Locked On ACC. It's hosted by Candace Cooper. She does an amazing job talking about the Atlantic Coast Conference, and she has a great rotating group of guests, including yours truly, AJ Black, who comes on Wednesday. So check out Locked On ACC. All right, college football fanatics, have you heard about PrizePicks yet? PrizePicks is a daily fantasy sports app that makes fantasy easy. I love this app. I'm telling you, it's amazing, and I think you will love it too. PrizePicks is a leader in college sports daily fantasy. They offer more college football props than anyone in the world, and offers all the star players in the Power 5, as well as mid-major players you may never have heard of. It's a lot of fun. You can just go pick a couple players, and you bet the over and under. If you make it right, you can win up to 10 times on your entry, so check it out. You pick 2 to 5 players, the over and under. So, for instance, you could take DJ Uyunglele if he's playing, and you could also take someone from the NBA, say Dwight Howard, and you pick their over and under on specific stats. If you get it right, you win. It's that easy. It's so much fun to play too. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and the best part is it's safe and offers fast withdrawals. So if you're a winner, you can get your money pretty quickly. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use promo code LOCKEDON, or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. This is Locked On Boston College. Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is AJ Black. We are going over the games from around the country. We've been talking about BC and Syracuse for the last 2 days, but there's a lot of other great college football games that we should talk about. With me is Mitch Wolfe. Mitch, how's it going?
Going good. It's nice to have a little time removed from the sting of Saturday's game, but it was a pretty exciting week across college football, and especially in the ACC.
All right, yeah, let's get to the heavy hitters first. The big game. Miami, 2 weeks in a row, knocking out ranked ACC opponents, beating Pitt 38-34 in a game Pitt probably would have won given a controversial call at the end of the game. Mitch, talk about this one.
Yeah, I had this on kind of in the press box on my computer before the BC game started, and this was fun to watch. I think Miami's really has something in Tyler Van Dyke as their next quarterback moving forward. I think there was even some chatter like they were comfortable with him starting if King wasn't ready to go at the beginning of the season. And I'm not sure they would have beaten Bama, but you kind of wonder, I wonder how, if they'd be doing better if they had just kind of started Van Dyke from the start. But yeah, I mean, the Cinderella run for Pitt isn't necessarily over. I think they can still win the Coastal. No problem. They probably don't really have a chance making the playoff now, but another game where, Pitt's second loss where it isn't really on Kenny Pickett because he has 39 for 55, 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's playing super well, but his 2-loss team probably kind of knocks him out of the Heisman race, unfortunately.
You talk about Tyler Van Dyke. For those that listening at home, he was a huge recruit. He was a 4-star top 20 quarterback in 2019. You have to wonder when you see him there. BC was from Glastonbury, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And BC was interested, but his lead recruiter was Mike Bajakian, who probably had to go with the pitch. How would you like to hand the ball off 45 times in a game? And so, yeah, I'm impressed with what Miami's doing, and it's really,
I think it's kind of interesting because they're playing a ton of freshmen and they're just kind of rolling with it, and it's going well so far, it's kind of fun to see. It's another time they're almost texts at this point, is the U back? And they have 4 losses, I think. So maybe next year, they got a lot of young guys who are playing really well for them on both sides of the ball. So that's exciting to see.
And I mean, as I just said, 2 wins against ranked opponents. That's a way to build some momentum right there. All right, so let's look at a game that matters for BC for the next couple of weeks. It's Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. Virginia Tech wins 26-17, big catches by Trey Turner. And the opening odds are out for the game. It's Virginia Tech with a 3-point favorite over BC. Based off of what I saw from BC, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole until I could see their offense do anything. What are your thoughts on Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like their defense is pretty strong. I mean, I know Syracuse put 40 on them the previous week, but yeah, I'd be betting Virginia Tech at that, honestly. And I know Georgia Tech's been kind of struggling this year. I think that you kind of called it, that there was been some issues with Jeff Collins there so far. And I don't know if this keeps going for them, he could be out of a job pretty quickly. And on the other side, a coach we all expected to be possibly gone this week, Justin Fuente, Godfather Part 3 line, just when you think he's out, he pulls him back in. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Tech is a weird team, as with most teams in the Coastal. Tech is a weird team this year.
Yeah, that was the game that when I do my betting odds with Eric, I said, I have no idea. I'm not touching that game.
Yeah, just stay away.
Because it's just 2 weird teams that do weird things every week. So, but a game that killed my betting odds by, I think it was a half a point. Clemson and Florida State. I thought Florida State had it, especially when I forget who it was with that incredible touchdown kept run. But Will Shipley had a huge touchdown to win it. 30 points for Clemson. Hey, maybe they get their offense finally going.
Yeah, I think I saw the final play where they had doing the lateral thing, and Florida State's doing the lateral thing, and then Clemson picks it up and gets it in the touchdown, gets in the end zone for a touchdown. And the commentator said, that's a very, very significant score for some people, as it was a 23-20 yeah. And then Clemson was favored by 9.5. So that puts them up by 10. So pretty rough for anybody who had the misfortune of betting on Florida State. But yeah, I don't know if they found their offense. I know DJ Uiagalelei got benched at one point. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him moving forward, but I don't know what to do with Clemson either. But man, it is all chaos this year in the ACC.
Speaking of the one team that hasn't had a blip yet and did what they had to do is building a solid college football playoff resume, given that every other team in the top 10 seems to basically everyone from 6 to 10 just keeps losing, is Wake Forest, who crushed Duke 45-7, which is what they need to do. They need to go out there and beat teams. So look out, BC. If you're going to play poorly, they're going to step on your throat and just keep pounding you.
Yeah. I mean, Wake, they're ranked 13th. If they're not in the top,
they're top 10 now.
They were this week. Okay. Yeah. They're top 10 now. Yeah. I mean, that makes all sense in the world. I mean, I'm going to click on their schedule here, but I mean, that offense is just humming along, even though I hate watching it. Their defense has been kind of inconsistent. Duke isn't exactly the strongest opponent, but they've got at UNC this week. I think you said that UNC is favored, which is absolutely bewildering to me. Yep. UNC is favored by 2.5, which is absolutely insane. I don't get that at all. Then they go versus NC State, then at Clemson, at BC to finish the season. So that's a tough road to hoe for them. But I mean, if their defense just plays a little bit better and they just keep humming along on offense, if they go undefeated, win the AC championship, and maybe, some of those top teams lose some of their games, I feel like you have to put Wake in. I know they haven't played a ton of impressive opponents, but if you run that table and, maybe Alabama loses again in the SEC championship, maybe Oklahoma loses. I feel like there's definitely a case for Wake to get in. And if Cincinnati keeps struggling, maybe they lose a game. Wake has a decent chance that they can keep running the table like this.
I'm curious especially if they run the table, say they make the playoffs, some team out there, I don't know, I'm not gonna say like USC or something, but a team that's got good pockets that's not Wake Forest, because Wake Forest is the same kind of school as Boston College, that is going to see Dave Clawson and go,
oh boy, I like this.
We need a coach that has a proven winner. There's Dave Clawson. Let's get him. And I don't know who that would be, but I've heard his name buzzed around. Like, why isn't he getting more looks? And honestly, he deserves it based off what he's done at Wake Forest. It's impressive.
Yeah, and like you said, Wake is kind of limited by who they can recruit because it is a pretty high achieving academic school. And if you kind of open up the limits for Dave Clawson and let him kind of run wild with getting some better recruits that aren't limited by academics, I mean, man, he could maybe turn some bigger program around. I mean, I don't know if LSU would go for that because I think Clawson's kind of a Midwest-ish guy, so I'm not really sure how that fits in with the open jobs right now, but that would be interesting to see if he kind of bounces from there.
And the funny thing to talk about with the betting odds for that Wake Forest game is I go back to what Eric Hoffs is. We're doing the bets 2 weeks ago when NC State played Miami. He goes, I'm taking Miami. Vegas always knows something about these weird spreads. And he goes, when you see a weird spread and you're like, what the hell is that? Bet it. He goes, just take it, because Vegas knows something you don't know. And so
I guess. Yeah, that's a good point. But man, that's just hard to see. I mean, wow, maybe the thought is that Wake's defense has struggled so much that Sam Howell goes crazy and he has like some sort of. Yeah, I mean, I'll say there's like North Carolina lost to Notre Dame this week in a barn burner, I believe. I was watching that game the other night or last night or Saturday night, whenever it was, but I think they put up a ton of points. So that's good for them. They maybe they can kind of exploit that Wake defense, but it's not like NC State's defense is any better than Wake's, really. So I don't know about that.
All right. So NC State, they play, it was the battle of BC's last two opponents, and NC State took care of business, really limiting Louisville's offense, who only scored 13 points. I didn't get a chance to watch this because I think it was running the same time as our game. But Malik Cunningham, 11 for 28, throwing the ball, 18 for 76 on the ground. NC State's defense did what they needed to do.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like NC State scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. So, NC State was down, and then they kind of just have this roaring comeback to take the win. So, I mean, like I said, I think, aside from Wake, the rest of the ACC Atlantic is pretty wide open with, Syracuse kind of surging. NC State is still a pretty solid team. They lose close on the road to Miami after beating BC by a lot. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really fun conference this year. And, it's I think that, unless Wake can make the playoff, but other than that, it's pretty much just all these teams just absolutely cannibalizing each other.
And then finally, the night game, and I had no chance of getting into this. After the BC game, I went out and did some Halloween things with my kids, and then ended up watching the end of the Squid Game, which is kind of like watching ACC football, but I don't know if that analogy even worked. 25th ranked Brigham Young scored 66 points against Virginia's, who scored 49. I went into this game going, man, this is two teams that have no defense at all. Cause I didn't know. I mean, I haven't really followed BYU enough this year to know, but when I was prepping for Friday's episode, I was like, man, their defense is garbage too. And God, I hope you picked the over in this one, because it was 5 touchdowns for Algier, their quarterback. And it looks like Brennan Armstrong's in some health risk. I heard after the game that he might have broken a rib. I don't know what that means. Sometimes they can get flak jackets and things like that to keep them in, but It was a rough one. I had picked Virginia in this game. Did you get any chance to check in on this one?
I did not, but I'm just looking at like the box score and the drive chart, and man, I wish I had watched this game. This looks like a ton of fun. I mean, you've Tyler Algier going for 266 and 5 touchdowns. Brandon Armstrong, like you said, he got hurt, but he has put 6 touchdowns on the board, 337 yards passing, 94 rushing. Virginia scores 35 points in the second quarter alone. I mean, I think they scored a touchdown on every drive they had in the second quarter. It's absolutely insane, man. I wish I had caught this game. It looked like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I missed that one, but that really sucks for Brendan Armstrong because I know he was kind of just starting to get a little bit of Heisman hype, and then he gets hurt, and that really sucks for them. So, but yeah, really fun game. Wish I watched it.
All right, so super quick. Colorado State, they lost to Boise State, and Adazio continues his usual bid. Mm-hmm. The big news, though, we always spend some time
ripping. Yes. I'm so excited.
ripping on UMass and UConn. And UConn this week.
Oh, no, this isn't what I want to talk about, actually.
UConn could have a invitation to the AAC coming up as the AAC was getting raided by all these other, the conference realignment. So they might get a football only bid with a bunch of other schools that no one cares about, like New Mexico State.
Oh, and the CUSA, you mean?
Oh, it's Conference USA. Yeah, Conference USA. New Mexico State, like Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Middle Tennessee, it's weird because like Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky, I think are actually being courted by the MAC.
Right.
And then I think basically the point is that CUSA is getting rated by the Sun Belt and the MAC and the AAC. And so now the CUSA needs to find schools. They're just going to take in these kind of lowly independents, except for UMass.
So I was at my day job when it was like all the group of 5 schools, like in conferences, were making all these moves. And like, I'm not really paying all that much attention because honestly, like sometimes I don't even remember who's in the Sun Belt versus who's in, the MAC. They all kind of all blend together at points.
The CUSA and the Sun Belt are very similar, so it's very hard to keep track of those for sure.
Yeah. And so I heard the thing about UConn, and then I looked on Twitter and I saw Walt Bell's face, and I heard Walt Bell at a press conference absolutely just rip UMass. UMass is like just the whole structure that they had there, being like, yep, they're not going to invite us because we don't have the structure to do anything. I was like, okay, you're going to go down that road, Walt. And it was one of the most shocking things. Like usually a coach like that would like hedge it a little bit with like kind of be political about it, or, we could really do this if we got me. He was just like really, really blunt. Mitch, did you hear what he said?
Yeah, you sent it to me, and it took me a little while to understand it. And yeah, I mean, that was definitely something. I think that was the biggest story about that is, all those independent programs kind of getting picked up, and then the omission is UMass. And obviously like the CUSA is kind of a hodgepodge already. So UMass is, not even close fit geographically until UConn comes in. But I mean, it's tough for them, that stuff breaks, and then they go against Liberty and get beat 62-17. So pretty rough day in the Bay State. The one thing I'm going to make this quick. The one thing I thought we were going to talk about is that BC's former offensive coordinator, Scott Loeffler, who is now the head coach of Bowling Green. And they had a shocking defeat of Minnesota earlier this season, which good for them. But this game, he gets ejected for committing 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, which I don't think has ever happened in college football since they instituted the ejection rule. And it's shocking it's him and not his former boss, Steve Adazio. But after he gets ejected, Bowling Green goes on to score 28 points in the fourth quarter, including a fake kneel down where their quarterback, Matt McDonald, former BC quarterback, runs in a 47-yard fake kneel for a touchdown. They come back to win and beat Buffalo 56-44. And I think they scored more points in the fourth quarter than they've scored in any game this season after Scott Loeffler gets ejected. So weird season for Bowling Green, but just an incredible series of events going down there, which I just thought was absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, I heard that one too. And college football is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before with BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. You got to check it out. They've got some great lines. One that really sticks out with me right now is Wake Forest at +3. An undefeated Wake against UNC. You can check that out at BetOnline. Head on over to their new updated website or mobile interface to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's free money right there. You know the books don't usually like doing that, so you need to check out BetOnline. Use their promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casinos, they have everything there. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. It's great. So the big game this weekend was there was a couple like regular top 25 games, but obviously if you're watching for the playoffs, the one team you're watching for is Georgia, who's the number one team in the country, and they absolutely just throat punched Florida, their arch rival, on Saturday. I mean, they're not even playing with their starting quarterback. I mean, Stetson Bennett is their backup, and he looks fine.
And I think if you put Dennis Grosel with Georgia, it would be pretty similar results.
Right.
Stetson Bennett is, yeah.
Stetson Bennett is Dennis Grosel, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And that defense is absurd. Did you get to watch any of that?
I missed this one, but I did see some highlights, and I read some stuff about it. And I mean, Georgia's just a meat grinder at this point, and it's a really slow meat grinder. Like, I think the big thing was that they scored like 21 points in like 4 minutes in the second quarter. And if they just get if they get 10 points on the board on you, it's over. And then they just kept putting some more points on you, so it's 34-7. But I mean, they just absolutely just beat Florida into submission. I think there were some pictures of they were like, when Florida does their like alma mater after the game, there were like 3 players out there for it, which was a rough look. It's not going great in Florida this season. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see a world where Georgia's going to lose just because that defense is just playing in a different universe than defense usually played.
This is the year, Alabama's had their number for years.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's offense is good, but I think Georgia's defense could hold them. I think this year.
Yeah. Everything about Alabama right this year is good. It's just not great or elite. And I think that's just because they have a lot of young guys playing. I think I've said this before in this podcast, that they have a lot of young guys playing, and that their experienced guys are just not those like elite first round game breaker type of players.
And so, Mitch, one last thought heading into this weekend, a game to watch that I honestly think could be fun for us to laugh about on Monday next week. Rhode Island plays Massachusetts, and URI is pretty good.
Oh boy.
You never know with an FCS and FBS, but this is one of those games that you could circle, because UMass has been playing like crap, that, they could lose to an FCS school and in Rhode Island. So, we'll have to keep our eyes open on that one. So, Mitch, we talked quite a bit. Where can people find you?
Yep, you can find me at Mitch on Twitter at Mitchell T. Wolfe, WOLFE. Make sure you follow me there for any coverage we have of BC coming out this week and in future weeks, and for my other work for my various other websites and ventures. All
right, and you can check me out. I'm AJ Black. I am on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. Make sure to follow our podcast wherever you get your podcast. This is Locked On Boston College. We're also on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. There's always commenters on there, making comments about the show. You can join that group too. It's free and easy. It's an easy way if you're at work to listen. Hit the YouTube button, hit that subscribe. You can listen while you're doing your work. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back tomorrow, where we're going to kick off Virginia Tech Week, because we have a game on Friday. So we'll be there, and we'll give you all the news and information that you need to know. Thank you all, and take care. We'll see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.